Okay, welcome back. We're going to look now at question number 2. Sorry, not question number 2. That's a distance problem you can do on your own as practice. Let's take a look at question number 3, which is now asking us to find the midpoint of two coordinates. The midpoint, or find the midpoint between the points 3, 4 and 5, 9. These are the same coordinates that we had in question number 1, but now instead of distance, we're looking for the midpoint. So here is our midpoint formula. There's two ways to do this again. We can use the midpoint formula, or we can go ahead and use the midpoint shortcut method that we learned in class. Let's use the midpoint formula first. This again, it's nice for us to label our coordinates to use the midpoint formula. So x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. And let's go ahead and plug those in. So the midpoint is going to be equal to x sub 1 plus x sub 2, so 3 plus 5 over 2. There's our x coordinate of our midpoint. And then y sub 1 plus y sub 2, or 4 plus 9 over 2. There's our y value of our coordinate. All I have to do now is do a little math. We've got 3 plus 5 is 8. So x value is going to be 8 over 2. Our y value is going to be 13 over 2. And now we can simplify these for our final answer. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So the x value of our midpoint is 4. 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. So our midpoint of these two coordinates is 4, 6.5. Now remember, we also use the graphical method. If we had a graph available, we could plot these points and use a couple of different ways to find the midpoint. But without a graph, best thing to do is either A, use the midpoint formula, or B, use the shortcut method. Let's do the shortcut method right now. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to write the value of your first coordinate, write the value of your second coordinate, draw a line under them. In this case, we're going to add the two together. So we have 3 plus 5 is 8, 4 plus 9 is 13, and we learn that with the midpoint shortcut, all you do is put both of those numbers over a 2. Put a comma in between those. That's not very clear. Let's make that a little bit clear. Put a comma in between those two numbers, put parentheses around them, and you've just figured out your midpoint. All you have to do now is simplify. So we got 8 divided by 2 is 4, 13 divided by 2 is 6.5, and you can see these steps pretty much follow along with the same steps that you see using the midpoint formula, without having to deal with the x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, but it does require that you memorize the steps. So whichever one you're most comfortable is totally fine to use on the test.